from the New York City area. Let me just make sure we are up and running. Let me see, we are. Fantastic, fantastic. How are you? Hope you are all doing well. Welcome to this episode of Spredict Live. Spredict Live is a weekly stream that we put together to highlight the Spredict app, talk a little bit about what we're building, and give you the opportunity to engage in some picks across a wide variety of areas. My name is Fred Endy. I'm one of the founders of Spredict, along with Max and Johan. We are a predictive gaming ecosystem designed to give players the opportunity to engage in gaming in ways they wouldn't normally be able to do. And we'll take a look at our DApp and we'll talk a little bit more about how that all works shortly. So here's what's going to happen over the next few minutes. I'm going to give a brief kind of introduction to Spredict, who we are, what we do. We'll pull up our DApp. We'll take a look at 4 fights from tonight's UFC Fight Night. We'll make some predictions. I'll share my thoughts. My record has been pretty good over the course of the last month. I went 3 for 3. There was a canceled fight, then 4 for 4. And then the last 2, I've been 3 for 4. So a pretty solid pick set. Of course, everything here using our DApp at the moment is free to play for fun. Should you choose to make any of those picks for anything other than fun, that is certainly your choice, but not something that we advise or recommend. So how does Spredict work? Well, Spredict is built around an expansive DApp structure that incorporates really 3 different areas into its design. One is that Spredict is based off of a subscription structure. Unlike other predictive gaming ecosystems, you don't pay to pick. You simply subscribe to the sports within the Spredict ecosystem that you find yourself enjoying, play for the period of the subscription length, and then depending on how you score on the leaderboard over that time period, win prizes. It makes for a more engaging experience, and it also helps us reach for our goal of being the Netflix, or Amazon Prime of predictive gaming. Our games are also designed and built a little bit differently. They are not the standard pick A, pick B type of games. We'll take a look at our UFC base level game today, and I'll explain the kind of interesting element we've built into it to incorporate more strategic thinking and more game theory into your play and the structure of the game itself. And then the third piece that sets us apart and that we're built around is kind of customized bespoke design for lounges, for groups who want to build out games of their own. We recognize that what Spredict puts together may be aligned with your interests or it may not. But the key is the Spredict platform is designed to allow you to craft games, set up structures that meet your needs. And so we'll help you build out those prediction pools to align with your community and your passions. Okay? So with that in mind, why don't I bring up the DApp? I'm going to share it. I'll highlight some key components of the DApp, and then we'll run through our picks. So let me share my screen. And while I do that, let me pull up the link so you can dive in and take a look as well. There you go at the bottom. dapp.spredict.io will take you to our DApp. Let me share our screen. All right, I gotta pull that tab out. Bear with me real quick. It's in a different tab. Here we go. Get that up and on screen for you. So you can take a look as we pick. There we go. So here is the Spredict DApp. You can see it on your screen right now. And again, you can go to dap.spredict.io and have a look. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you kind of the structures real briefly, and then we'll dive right into our 4 pools for today. First, you'll want to connect your wallet. You can connect via Abstract Global Wallet. Our DApp is currently on the Abstract testnet. So I'm going to connect via AGW. Let me do that. Awesome. Okay, and so I'm connected. You can see up in the top my wallet connection. There's a disconnect button. On the right-hand side, you'll see the current live odds. So everyone who has used the DApp so far is added into our live odds pool. You'll see a star next to some of those names. I'll explain that for you all shortly. Up at the top, right, you'll see kind of the weeks that we have run UFC pools, right, week 25. You'll also see that this game is called Face Off. This is a game where you'll end up picking from one of 2 fighters in a matchup, and it incorporates our favorite feature, which I'll share with you shortly. You'll also see there's a game called Tap Out, which is in development. That game, when released, will allow you to make predictions based on finishing style. Below that, on the left-hand side, you'll see the button that will take you to our Formula One games. Once those go live, below that, the crypto and price prediction component of our DApp that we're building. You know, we recognize that there are plenty of people who love predictive gaming and predictive elements, but are not sports fans, right? So the crypto side of our DApp will allow you to make predictions on crypto assets. Below that, rewards. When our Spredict Pass goes live, you'll be able to claim your rewards through this tab. And then towards the bottom, you'll see a little bump out where it says get your Spredict Pass. When the Spredict Pass goes live, you'll be able to mint out your pass, which will allow you to compete for prizes for the given time period that you mint, right? So figure a month, you'll compete in all the games in that sport in a month's period. There's a leaderboard that will run, that will show where you are, and then you'll get prizes based on your position in that leaderboard. Past results, when operating, will show you all of your picks that you've engaged in so you can map your progress. And then you'll also see a number of instruction elements that are provided, right? See full instructions. Right here will bump out how to play a given game. What you'll also notice in the pool design is that it's a straightforward pick for each of the 4 fights that are built into our UFC Fight Night face-off game. And there you go. A quick note to mention, I had talked about the star previously. The star is our favorite feature. We've added this element to our face-off game to help in adding some complexity and make the game and competition a little more interesting. The way the face-off feature, favorite feature works is the star follows the picks that users of the DApp have made. If you end up selecting, in this case, a fighter who goes on to win, and that fighter is also the favorite, the starred fighter, then your correct pick will earn you 1 point. However, and we'll take the main event tonight, if you were to pick Roundtree, right, and Roundtree wins, right, while Hill remains the favorite, then you earn additional points towards the leaderboard. So the goal is to not only provide you with an option to make predictions, but also add elements that even the odds, increase the complexity, and make the experience more fun. So there you have it. All right, so I'm going to pull up our Fight Night pools. First, let me tell you, this is an interesting fight night because it's in Baku, Azerbaijan, right? And a lot of times the fight nights are held in the US and particularly in the UFC Apex, which is like UFC's kind of headquartered fight location in Las Vegas. But we've had 2 weeks where the fight nights have been outside the Apex and, most interesting, at Crystal Hall this weekend. And that's really helpful for one of the fighters, right, who we'll talk a little bit about shortly, who is going to now be a hometown favorite. So we're going to start towards the bottom of of the card. And so what I'm going to do is scroll us down to our fourth fight, right? Okay, so you can now see that on screen. You'll also notice it's a quick toggle, right, between the fighters. You can also click on where you've clicked previously, and you'll end up with a clear picking screen. So this is a featherweight battle. We've got Mohamed Naimov, right, who's 12-3-0 of Tajikistan, and Bogdan Grad, right, 15-2 of Austria. Naimov is fairly heavily favored here at 250. If you were to look at these two fighters from the physical standpoint, right, take a look at their physical characteristics, you would see that there is almost nothing that separates the two, right? Height, weight, reach, their accuracy on significant strikes and takedowns, all very, very similar. Now, Naimov has won 4 of his last 5. His most recent win was a decision against Offley in February. Prior to that, maybe a little over a year ago, had a really solid knockout against Silva. And generally, okay, looks quite good in the octagon. He is not somebody who necessarily a lot of people are talking about. He is a solid fighter. He can effectively hit and defend, and is coming up against Bogdan Grad, right? Now, one thing that I can say, Grad last fought in February and is new to UFC. I had a win against Alexander. It was his first UFC fight. He came away with a second round knockout. He looked good. With newer fighters to UFC, there's always a transition period. A lot of other programs, while instructive and great for experience, don't deliver the type of fighting and intensity that UFC does. So Bogdan Grad comes in with one fight under his belt against a okay fighter, right? Clearly, if you're going to be in UFC, you've got to be at least okay. But I would not consider Alexander a top-tier talent. Naimov has more UFC time to his belt, right? But Grad, throughout his come up, has logged some solid fights. Certainly, to me, it would seem like this is more of a toss-up than the odds would show. However, what I've generally learned is there are some times to go with the chalk from Vegas, right? Go with who the favorites are picking, and times not to. This is a case where I am going to follow Vegas and follow where bettors are putting their money. Not because I believe Naimov is a significantly stronger talent than Grad, but because with his experience and his time in UFC and his ability to understand the dynamics of how the program actually works, I think it puts him standing in a better place than Grad, and Vegas, the odds currently agree. So I'm going to go and I'm going to lock in my pick for Naimov. Again, here is the link to our DApp, dap.spredict.io. You can head over there, make your picks. Everything is free to play at the moment. So I'm going to lock in Naimov, right? And let's dive ahead to our heavyweight fight. Now, I love heavyweight battles in UFC. These guys hit so hard almost all of the fights, right? And generalization, of course, but end in a knockout. One, because these guys pummel each other and they have so much weight to carry into their punches and kicks. The other, because since they're big, they tire out very easily. So these fights can be like literally one and dones, and often result in some incredible shots that fighters give and take. So Curtis Blades, 18-5, goes up against Rizvan Kuniev, 12-1. A lot of similarities to their physical characteristics, approach. Blades, though, has 4 additional inches of reach, which is significant, 80 inches to 76. Kuniev, however, does does hit better, significant strikes, stronger takedown fighter as well. A lot of times with the heavyweights, if you get a fighter who is significantly strong in the takedown area, it can be a game changer, right? Because a lot of times once these guys go down, it's very, very hard for them to get up and continue the fight with the same intensity that they had originally. Blades does not mess around. He's lost 2 of his last 5, right? And all 5 fights, the 3 that he's won, the 2 that he's lost, all have ended with knockouts, right? So this guy is coming in and hitting hard. He's had some tough luck with fights against Aspinall and others. His divisional ranking does show an aspirational fighter, right? And a solid come up would be really advantageous for him to put himself closer to true contender status. Kuniev has a good start to his career, entering UFC, really getting his feet wet. He's facing off against one tough guy, right? Kuniev can hit hard. He can knock people down, win fights. He just doesn't have the fight resume, though, when you take a look at a fighter like Blades. As I said, with Namath and Grad, anything can happen with new fighters, but you have to take a look at where things are in terms of their current capacity and who they're up against. I don't see a way this fight where anything happens other than a Blades win. In fact, were face off, or rather, our finishing style game open, I would take Blades for the knockout win in this fight for sure. So let me lock in my pick for Blades to win. So you can see, right, that in this case, I'm going with the favorite. And so if we were playing for prizes and utilizing our leaderboard, right, I would be selecting a favorite and would earn less points, for instance, than if I were going to pick Kuniev, right? Who I'm not, but certainly I could take that risk. So we go up to a lightweight fight between 2 fighters who we know and have seen in the octagon before, right? These 2 names have had some solid experience in UFC. Rafael Fiziev of Azerbaijan, right, playing to the home crowd, goes up against Ignacio Bahamondes, 17-5 of Chile. There's a lot behind playing to the home crowd, right? And I think it's often one of the understated elements of mixed martial arts work, certainly in UFC. Fighters who play to the home crowd have a significant advantage in terms of getting that energy, building up a lot of crowd noise, right? And in sporting events, that can mean a lot, right? So what's interesting is even though Fiziev is fighting for the home crowd, he is still not the favorite. Bahamondes takes that, in this case, at 125. And that is not a significant favorite. And it's not it's not hard to see why. Um, Bahamondes is taller, right, by a significant amount, right? He's 6'3" to Fiziev's 5'8". He's younger, right? Bahamondes is 27, Fiziev's 32. He's got a longer reach of 4 inches. Um, that that's significant. Right? That said, though, Fiziev is much stronger on the takedowns. And one of the things that we've learned in UFC is if you pair up a taller fighter with a shorter, kind of more compact fighter, if they are strong on the takedowns and can keep the taller fighter off their feet at least a number of times over the course of the fight, it plays into their hands, particularly for potential decision-ending fights. Fiziev's last 2 years have been really kind of interesting. He's lost 3 of his last 5 fights. Two big names in the sport, and he had been away from the octagon for about 2 years before his loss in March, right? So he comes back to face another solid fighters in Bahamondes. Bahamondes is the owner of like the spinning kick heard around the world back in 2021. If you're ever looking for crazy knockouts in UFC, I have no doubt that Bahamondes's kick will appear. It was a incredibly well-timed spinning kick that literally knocked his opponent. Like it was, you won't come across a more riveting knockout via kick, in my opinion. He's won 4 of his last 5. Okay, most recently submitted Turner this past March. Both of these guys can hit hard. Obviously, Bahamondes's size is what sets him apart. It can be really hard for fighters to close the distance against him, both because of his height and his reach. And so the key is being able to take him off his feet and do damage to him on the mat to slow his ability to fight back. I like Fiziev in this fight. It's, going against the odds a little bit, but not that they were significantly big in Bahamondes's favor. Anyway, I like Fiziev just because I like his fight pedigree. I like that he's taken on key fighters within the division. I also like a fighter with stronger takedown skills, a smaller fighter with stronger takedown skills against the taller one. And so if Fiziev is able to slow down Bahamondes, tire him out, take him to the mat, I think he ends up with the win, right? And can set himself back on the path to moving up in the division rankings. So I'm going to lock in my Fiziev pick. Okay. Let me do that. And then we move on to our main event. It's a light heavyweight battle between two great fighters who are really close in that light heavyweight divisional structure. We've got Jamal Hill, 12-3, right, of the United States, taking on another American fighter, Khalil Roundtree Jr., right, who's 14-6. So Hill ranked 4th in the division. Roundtree is ranked 7th. These two fighters have really, really strong fighting opportunities ahead of them, with both at 20 fights or less in their careers. A win here puts either Hill or Roundtree in a great position to continue to move up the division rankings, right? Hill is 3 inches taller, so 6'4" to 6'1". He's got a longer reach, right, about 2.5 inches. Worth mentioning, right? But not necessarily as significant size differential as with Bahamundus and Fiziev. Right, both fighters have similar significant strike accuracy. Um, Hill can hit. I mean, if you watch him fight, he has literally pummeled opponents. You know, he's also been a title holder, right? He held the light heavyweight title for a year. Did a crazy fight with TXera, um, and then lost the belt to Pereira. Hill's last two fights have been losses, right? He also lost to Prochaska in January. He's a great fighter. It just seems like he's hit a bit of a string of bad luck, right? It's the question for him is he's now facing a fighter who is not to be messed with. Um, Roundtree is one hell of a light heavyweight fighter. He comes into fights with a clear desire to knock people out. He demolished Smith and Daukus, though he was also beaten by Pereira, who before his most recent loss, Roundtree had not lost a fight since 2021. Guy's intense, he's mean, he hits hard, maybe a little more so than Hill, right? I think when I watch both of them fight, there is a slightly more conservative and strategic approach to aspects of Hill's style than Roundtree's. I do expect this fight to end early. I don't expect it to go to decision. I see one of these two powerhouses knocking the other out. So Roundtree is the favorite here, though only slightly. And I'm thinking this is going to be a really fun main event. Um, I love Jamal Hill. I do. I love that he was a title holder. I love his work so far in the program. That said, I'm going with Roundtree this time because he's got a level of energy and intensity that I think you don't always see in the program. And when I think about, like, listen, both of these guys can knock me flat, right? But when I think about who I'd rather be in the octagon with, I can tell you it's not Roundtree. So Roundtree has my pick. I think it's going to be an awesome fight. I think that we're going to start to see Roundtree inching up those divisional rankings on the way to continuing to develop as a fighter. Right, so now I've got all four of my picks in. What I'm going to do towards the bottom, a little, see if I click off of this and then click back on, you'll see a little validate your prediction button. I'm going to click validate. I get a little pop-up window asking me to approve my pick, which I do. Okay, I get a transaction complete notification. And then if I refresh the DApp, all of my picks should be locked in, right? It's a quick way for me to tell that I've made those selections, right, and that everything is locked and ready for my use. You can see that on screen. A quick note again, go to dapp.spredict.io to make your picks, right? Get them in. You've got to think a little more. I have to check the start time, but I think you've got probably somewhere around 6 hours or so to make your picks. So here you have it. These are my four picks: Roundtree, Fiziev, Blades, Namoff, to be the winners in our UFC Fight Night pool. I'm going to stop sharing. Encourage all of you, again, to visit us at Spredict, access our DApp, make your picks, get them locked in, see how much fun it is to utilize Spredict, and let's see how we do. Right, I wish you all the best of luck with all of your predictive gaming, and make sure that you're always checking out what's happening at Spredict. See you soon.